My name is Sumo Scott, and welcome to my video essay about women's sumo wrestling. Once upon a time, there was women who participated in sumo wrestling professionally. The first recorded instance of it was in the 5th century, but it did not become commonplace until the 18th century. They toured the country and competed against one another as a form of entertainment. However, it was banned in 1926 due to corrupting public morals, presumably because they wrestled topless like the men do. So, you may have been watching a sumo tournament at one time or another, and thought to yourself, I wonder why I never hear about or see women's sumo wrestling. Well, it's because there is none. Not professionally, at least. There is no professional sumo league of any description for women in Japan, let alone a Grand Sumo equivalent. Grand Sumo is as much a Shinto ritual as it is a sport, which is why before each match, there is a lengthy period of ritual taking place, such as the salt throwing and the foot stomps. Within this religious context, women are seen as impure, and is a foolish sentiment in the modern era. But in what is perhaps the most traditional sport in the world, it is expected that these traditional ideas of purity are still prevalent in the sport. Because of this traditionalist framework that the Shinto rituals of sumo operate within, women are not allowed to step onto the dohyo at all. There was an incident in 2018 at a sumo event taking place in the city of Maizuru. The mayor of the town collapsed in the ring and was unconscious. Many officials and men from ringside stepped onto the dohyo to assist him, as well as 2 women from the crowd. One of the women was in fact a physician, and the men already in the ring cleared the way for her to perform CPR. The arena announcer came over the loudspeaker and specifically asked only the 2 women to leave the ring. The mayor was taken to a local hospital and recovered back to full health, but the incident caused a significant measure of controversy that made international news. In the aftermath, the chairman of the Japan Sumo Association, Chairman Hakaku, apologized for the incident and stated that the loudspeaker call was inappropriate, given the situation to be life-threatening. Nevertheless, it shone a light on the deeply ingrained traditional attitudes that create the barriers which stop women from having a pro-sumo league to compete in. Women in Japan can participate in amateur sumo wrestling at a young age. If you have watched the documentary on Netflix titled Little Miss Sumo, you will see that the character focus of the documentary, Kon Hoyori, started sumo wrestling in elementary school along with many other girls. The opportunities dry up once elementary school finishes, however, and the drop-off leading into middle and high school is extremely high. The lack of professional leagues to aspire to be in and work towards would of course be a major factor in this, but we cannot ignore the societal ideas of womanhood, femininity, and the obsession the world has with boxing children into very specific lanes that they need to follow throughout their life. Every year an amateur sumo tournament is held called the Hakuho Cup, and it has been running since 2010. It is one of the 2 big junior sumo meets of the year, with around 1,000 boys who are elementary and middle school aged competing. It has become a fertile scouting ground for stable masters, with current Makuuchi wrestlers such as Onosho, Ura, Hakuoho, and even Nuozeki Kotonowaka having competed at the event before making their way into professional sumo. This year, the first ever Dream Girls Sumo Cup was organised to run in conjunction with this event. Despite there being no professional league to look forward to or to be scouted into, 201 elementary, middle and high school age girls signed up to compete in the event. The event was a big success, with Hakuho stating, "The sumo was as powerful as that of the men. I don't think that there has ever been a national tournament for women like this. I would like to continue it every year." The statement is not superfluous either. I tuned into the stream expecting to watch a couple of matches, and then go on with my day. But I ended up watching about 3 hours of the stream. It was riveting and exciting, with the girls throwing their full effort into winning their matches, and competing to the last ounce of effort that they had. So what do I think about the future of women's sumo wrestling? The main talking point for the hypothetical creation of a pro league for women's sumo would be how closely it would match the current men's sport. You see, when sumo wrestlers turn pro, they sign up with a sumo stable. It is a communal living scenario that is hierarchical, with how chores, rewards, and even personal freedom are distributed. A wrestler is not allowed to get married and start a family until they become a sekitori, for instance. If you become a successful wrestler, you can live a good life and provide for your family more than adequately. But with this opportunity comes a significant loss of personal autonomy that I don't think a lot of fans think about enough. It is actually one of the conditions that turns many boys away from the sport once they become a teenager and have to decide whether they continue doing sumo and pursuing a professional career. The loss of personal autonomy is so great that it simply isn't worth it for a lot of these boys. The way the ranking system works would also be even less forgiving than it is for the men. In sumo, unless you are a yokozuna, you drop rank if you sit out of tournaments. If you sustain a serious injury that needs many months of recovery, you can drop from the first division all the way down to the 4th or even 5th divisions within a year. You can probably figure out what I am getting at here. Giving up enough control over your personal life, as someone who is likely to be able to carry a child, and need to do so if they decide they want a family, isn't something we should encourage for people who biologically have a time limit on their ability to do so naturally. In a perfect world, a person should never have to choose between children and a career, but it'd be impossible for that not to be the case for Women's Sumo League, operating under the same structure as the men's does at least. So with that in mind, I think a replication of the current Grand Sumo organisation for women is completely unfeasible. However, what I do think is possible is a professional sumo league for women that emulates the competitive conditions of how sumo wrestling operates on the sporting side, but without the lifestyle and religious obligations that are part and parcel of becoming a sumo wrestler. It would have to operate as the Sumo World Championships operate, which runs essentially like traditional Greco-Roman wrestling does, like you see at the Olympics. Weight classes, individual events, and perhaps even team events. But I think the problem with this might be that a lot of the traditional aspects of the sport are part of what draw many people in to watch it in the first place. Part of why I personally fell in love with the sport is that the wrestlers have a sense of grandeur about them that is exuded through the rituals and the life that they live. It is tough to explain sometimes, but if sumo wrestling was as simple as two men coming out and wrestling each other for 10 to 15 seconds, I hazard to guess that I wouldn't have become as much as a fan as I have, or even at all actually. The ritual, circumstance, chonmage, stable living, and Shinto traditions are what make the sport what it is. Hakuho himself has 3 daughters, and 2 of them competed in the Dream Girls Sumo Cup. I won't speculate on his motivation to run the event, but he has proven to be a relatively progressive and forward-thinking person when it comes to the sport that he loves. So it is not an unusual thing for him to be involved in. One of his daughters even came second in her age division, and he was very much the image of a proud father. It's just too bad that he won't be able to nurture her ambition beyond amateur competition. As a fan of Grand Sumo, I look forward to the day that young girls like Hakuho's daughters have a pro league to aspire to compete in. For now, little girls in Japan will have to settle for amateur sumo, and once they reach adulthood, the difficulty of competing in a sport that you can only do as a hobby. The obstacle that a women's league faces is so much greater than that in almost any other sport. But it isn't really the technicalities of running the sport that is really the issue here. Many other sports have created women's leagues that are growing in popularity. It's because the organisation is willing to put the necessary resources and money into creating and promoting it. But the elephant in the room is that before it even faces the easily resolvable issues of structure, money, and lifestyle, it faces the even bigger issue of a culture that is lacking in equity on a variety of gender issues. And unfortunately, that is the culture that will stop a women's pro sumo league from being created at all. Thank you all so much for watching my latest video. I really hope you learned something. Please give me a follow on X/Twitter @SumoScott and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Please enjoy the rest of this amazing match that's happening in the background, with full sound as well. Have a lovely day.